Hello, history learners. I'm here to share fascinating stories from history in an audio format, perfect for listening while doing chores, studying, or just relaxing with something interesting in the background. If you enjoyed today's episode, consider subscribing for more history content like this. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode and uncover the remarkable story of Violet Jessop, the woman who survived all three major maritime disasters aboard the RMS Olympic, the RMS Titanic, and the HMHS Britannic. Today I invite you to remember and honor a woman whose life became one of the most extraordinary stories of courage, endurance, and quiet heroism ever recorded at sea. Her name was Violet Jessop, and though history often remembers the great ships she sailed upon, it is her remarkable spirit that deserves our deepest admiration. Violet Jessop was born in Argentina in 1887 to Irish immigrant parents, and from the very beginning, her life was marked by hardship and resilience. As a child, she suffered from severe illness, and doctors believed she would not survive. Yet even then, she proved stronger than anyone expected. That strength would follow her throughout her life and carry her through tragedies that would have broken many others. After the death of her father, Violet moved with her family to England, where she eventually sought work at sea. At a time when opportunities for women were limited, she became a stewardess aboard passenger liners. Her job demanded patience, discipline, and grace under pressure. She cared for passengers during long ocean voyages, often placing their comfort before her own. It was difficult work, but Violet carried herself with professionalism and dignity. What makes her story truly astonishing is that she survived not one, but three major maritime disasters. In 1911, she was aboard the RMS Olympic when it collided with another ship. Though shaken, she survived and continued her work at sea. Most people would have left such a dangerous profession after an experience like that, but Violet did not. She returned to the ocean with the same determination and courage that had guided her before. Then came the tragedy that would forever be remembered in history, the sinking of the RMS Titanic in April of 1912. Violet Jessop was working as a stewardess aboard the magnificent ship during its maiden voyage. The Titanic was called Unsinkable, a triumph of engineering and luxury. Yet on a cold night in the North Atlantic, it struck an iceberg, and chaos swept across the decks. Imagine the fear of those moments. The freezing air, the confusion, the sound of distress spreading among thousands of passengers. Violet remained calm amid the panic. She helped passengers who could not speak English. She comforted frightened women and children. She fulfilled her duty while the great ship slowly disappeared beneath the icy waters. Eventually, she was ordered into Lifeboat 16. According to her own account, an officer handed her a baby to care for while the lifeboat drifted through the freezing darkness. Around her, the cries of survivors echoed across the sea. It was one of the most horrifying maritime disasters in human history, and yet Violet endured it with remarkable composure and humanity. When the rescue ship Carpathia arrived, Violet survived while more than 1,500 others perished. Many would have been unable to return to the sea after witnessing such horror. But once again, Violet Jessop showed extraordinary courage. She continued working aboard ocean liners, refusing to let fear define her life. As if surviving the Titanic disaster were not unbelievable enough, fate tested her yet again during the First World War. Violet served as a nurse aboard the HMHS Britannic, the sister ship of the Titanic, which had been converted into a hospital ship. In 1916, the Britannic struck a mine in the Aegean Sea and began to sink rapidly. Once more, Violet found herself trapped in a maritime catastrophe. This time, the situation was even more dangerous. Lifeboats were being pulled into the ship's giant propellers as it sank. Violet jumped from her lifeboat into the water to avoid being killed. She struck her head during the escape and later learned that she had suffered a skull fracture. Yet somehow, once again, she survived. Think about the sheer improbability of her life. To survive one shipwreck is extraordinary. To survive three major maritime disasters is almost beyond belief. Yet Violet Jessop never considered herself a hero. She spoke modestly about her experiences and continued living with humility and strength. That quiet resilience is perhaps the most inspiring part of her story. Too often, history celebrates only captains, inventors, and famous leaders, while overlooking ordinary people who show extraordinary courage in moments of crisis. Violet Jessop was not a celebrity seeking attention. She was a working woman who carried out her responsibilities with compassion and bravery even when surrounded by terror and uncertainty. She represented the countless women whose labor, sacrifice, and courage helped others survive. Her story also reminds us of the fragile balance between human ambition and nature's power. The Titanic symbolized confidence in technology and progress, yet it was brought down in a single night. Amid that tragedy stood people like Violet Jessop, whose humanity mattered far more than steel, engines, or luxury. In the years after her adventures at sea, Violet eventually retired and lived a quieter life in England. She wrote about her experiences and reflected on the remarkable journey she had endured. She passed away in 1971, leaving behind a legacy unlike any other. Today, she is remembered as Miss Unsinkable, a nickname that captures not only her survival, but the indomitable spirit that defined her life. May we remember her not only as a survivor of the Titanic, but as a symbol of resilience itself. In a world often shaken by uncertainty and hardship, the life of Violet Jessop reminds us that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet endurance. Sometimes it is compassion shown during chaos. Sometimes it is simply the refusal to surrender after tragedy. And so today we honor Violet Jessop, the nurse, the stewardess, the survivor, and above all, a woman of extraordinary courage whose story continues to inspire generations across the world. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this journey into history. Be sure to come back tomorrow for another fascinating story from the past. And if there's a historical topic you'd like to hear about, feel free to leave a suggestion in the comments. Your ideas might inspire a future episode.